It's exciting to get the opportunity to talk again about mental emotional health. It's certainly something that I have a lot of passion about, not least of which uh, my own struggles going through teenager years and early 20s and trying to navigate, I guess, this whole idea of who I was and who I wanted to be and what I wanted from life. And, you look around and you think that people around you have got it all figured out. You probably don't talk to them about whether they've got it all figured out or not. You just make this assumption that they might have this big house and have got this fancy car and that life is good. When in reality, the big house and the fancy car could also be masking a lot of unhappiness, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. Um, we have potential perceptions about what we think that people, how they look, how they dress, how they live, probably means that you can identify them as being happy people or contented people, or when reality is that that's not often the case. And Lorianne mentioned philosophy. It is quite a fascinating thing because when you go back to ancient philosophy, especially sort of that Greek um, period when you had people like Socrates, they were very poor and they often associated with poor people. And when poor people spoke about being depressed, we get all this literature from philosophers saying that poor people get depressed. So it wasn't until people like Seneca in Rome, Marcus Aurelius, an emperor of Rome, both of those people had more money than they knew what to do with, and they hung around with rich people. And those rich people also talked about depression and anxiety and stress. So we started to get this sense that maybe money isn't the cure all, that status wasn't the cure all, and that emperors could be sad too. So we're talking about a topic that transcends basically every culture. It's in every single country. When you look at the statistics, there isn't any place that is exempt from depression. And the stats can only go off when people actually go in and get an official diagnosis. And Lorianne and I were talking about this before we started this morning, and they're the stats of people that are actually saying things. What about all the people that are keeping it quiet because either they don't know it's depression or anxiety or whatever, or they don't want to burden people, or maybe they're trying natural medicine and they haven't gone to a Western medicine practitioner to get the diagnosis. So I'd say there's a lot more people out there than what the statistics actually say. And the statistics, which we'll talk about shortly, actually say that 5% of the population have been officially diagnosed with depression, which is over 400 million people on the planet. I mean, that's extraordinary. Can you imagine the amount of money spent on our healthcare systems to treat this disorder? And so, what we're going to look at today is actually a way of complementing that. If they're on antidepressants, if they're not, we've got strategies to help people in this depression space. It is a trigger warning workshop. It's distressing to talk about this sort of stuff. If it distresses you to hear it, if it saddens you to hear it, we can't ignore a topic because it makes us feel something emotionally. We have to work our way through this and come out the other end stronger and braver, not ignoring the fact that we felt those emotions, but to help us to understand it a bit more so that we can understand ourselves, our friends, our family, our patients. So I thank you for joining me on this journey. It is potentially going to be a little bit confronting, but we're in a safe space and I'm looking forward to, as I said, the opportunity to actually teach you. For those of you that know me, I can recognize a few names. My voice probably sounds a bit different. I have been struggling with a cold. So if at any point I have to mute myself just to have a bit of a cough or blow my nose, I apologize in advance. But we can't let colds get in the way of important conversations. So let's move into it. So be there for them. If you know someone who's depressed, please resolve never to ask them why. Depression isn't a straightforward response to a bad situation. Depression just is, like the weather. Try to understand the blackness, lethargy, hopelessness, and loneliness they're going through. Be there for them when they come through the other side. It's hard to be a friend to someone who's depressed, but it is one of the kindest, noblest, and best things you will ever do. I don't know if you know Stephen Fry. He's a English comedian, author, uh, TV personality. He does funny stuff, yet underneath it all, he's actually quite. He suffers from depression, which he openly admits to. He's one of those guys, that we've run into over the years, that are these people that we think are just funny and are always happy, when in actual fact that might not be the case at all. So we're going to cover a few things quickly. Because the heart, the pericardium, and the Shen impact all of our emotions, we're going to cover them quickly. If you are here to watch the remaining workshops, the free ones, the other paid ones, we won't revisit the heart, the pericardium, and the Shen each time, but I wanted to make sure we had a sense of what that was before we progressed. For those of you that have done something like that with me before, it is not a long time spent on it. It's just making sure that we've got the basics set down. Then we're going to unpack depression through 6 main organs. And then we're going to look at some patterns within each of those organs and how to treat those. And for probably the 3 most common types of depression, which would be a liver, a heart, and a lung depression, we're actually also going to look at how you could treat those using the 5 elements as well. Got a couple of case studies, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end to do Q&A.